There's just something a little bit different about night games. They slap different. You've got all morning to tailgate, as these folks have had in Bowling Green, with Big Red on hand. Cornhole, good food, you name it, they've got it. Just outside the stadium, Army is here. They brought some artillery to this matchup, both on and off the field. They're trying to spoil what's been a fantastic fall day here in Bowling Green, Kentucky. It's the Hilltoppers and the Black Knights on Stadium. We are ready to parachute right into this broadcast with a fantastic flyover from some Army helicopters as well. We're dropping in on a beautiful fall night in Bowling Green. Fall break for the students, but still a fantastic atmosphere on campus. Let's get to know the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. Hi there, it is great to be with you. We're not under the lights just yet, but we will be momentarily. I'm Chris Fosters. This is Jordan Palmer, the quarterback guru. Taking a look at Western Kentucky first. They're under a first-year head coach in Tyson Helton, and he's got this team off to a 3-2 start.
Yeah, he does. You know, 2 weeks ago, they got a new quarterback. Starter Stephen Duncan hurt in the Louisville game. Insert Ty Story. And all he's done is come in and go 2-0 and complete 69% of his passes. Super efficient. On defense, these guys can get after the quarterback in the pass game. However, today, Army's offense, not going to get an opportunity to do that, but they are very good against the run. And as a whole, they're 3-0 in conference. You know, they've got a ton of momentum, stubbed their toe earlier in the year, lost to Louisville, but they're 3-0, and they got the Black Knights coming in here today.
Army is also 3-2, and they're riding this 2019 season on the heels of back-to-back 10-win seasons. As a quarterback yourself, what's the read on Army with this triple option attack?
You know, I think it's fun to watch. These guys are all about controlling the clock. It's an analytics-based offense where they're going to make sure that they know exactly when and where the down and distance is, which is going to dictate what play to call. On defense, you know, they're typically undermanned and undersized, which means they're going to be stunting, blitzing. Everybody in the secondary has an opportunity to pressure today. And as a whole, these guys, they typically don't turn the ball over. Now, last year, only 8 turnovers the entire season. They've got 9 already this season. They are looking to clean that up, and they're going to get a chance to do that tonight.
Both teams 3-2. It's the third all-time meeting between Western Kentucky and Army. Food, football, and Jim Belushi. What more could you want? Army and Western Kentucky coming up next. Tonight's game is brought to you by Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission. And by Persil, tackle tough game day stains with Persil Pro Clean Laundry Detergent, a premium clean for your premium gear. Jordan, we've got a couple of premium players we're keeping our eyes on tonight. Who do you got?
Well, for Army, it's going to be Kelvin Hopkins Jr., the quarterback. This guy's not just had a good season, this guy is in the books. I mean, he is the first player in school history to rush for 1,000 and pass for 1,000, and he's a 2-time captain. On the other side, it's going to be Gage Walker, the back. You know, he's coming off of a week last week, 24 carries, 114 yards, and a touchdown. But if you look at it as a whole, he represents 88% of the rushing yards for this team. So they don't like giving him the ball. They love giving him the ball.
Well, here is Western Kentucky head coach Tyson Helton talking about his big key to the game against Army.
When you play a team like Army, I think they do everything perfect. They never make mistakes. They're always in the right position. They're not going to have, talent-wise, they're about the same talent as we are. You know, they got a couple, 2, 3, 4 really good players, and then everybody else is just a bunch of hard-nosed grinders, you know? And that's the beauty of college football, because if everybody's doing their job, doing what they're supposed to do, you're going to be a good football team. They've shown that over and over and over again. So I think from a talent standpoint, we match up. So what it really comes down to is
touchback to begin the ball game. You heard from Tyson Helton a moment ago, and it's interesting talking about the similarities between these two teams, Western Kentucky and Army. Standout players on both sides, and then some hard-nosed grinders. I liked the way he put that.
Yeah, toughness, especially for this Army team, and we're going to get into it tonight, talking a little bit about what's asked of these players, not just on the field, but in their daily life, but at Western Kentucky too. This has been what they've looked for. They talk about recruiting. They talk about the things they love about their team. Toughness is a word that comes up a lot.
Kelvin Hopkins Jr. out of Charlotte, North Carolina. First play from scrimmage is a fullback dive to Connor Slomka, a senior, and this is what Army wants to do all night. 3 4-yard plays, one at a time. Move the ball downfield.
Yeah, it's not often you look at the roster and you go, oh, here's the fullback. One, it's not often you look at a roster and see a fullback. But two, when he's your leading rusher. And that's been the story through the first 5 games is Slomka coming out of nowhere and leading this Army rushing attack.
His dad played at Army, and perhaps if you're a fullback playing high school football, you want to add Army to your wish list. There's another fullback for the Black Knights, Sandon McCoy. He's a junior from Kannapolis, North Carolina. And a 3rd and short is a situation that Army would be perfectly fine living in all night.
Yeah, this is really the goal for this offense. They really do look at it and they say, we've got 3 or 4 downs to get 10 yards. They're not looking at getting to the red zone on a certain play call. They're not looking at chunk yardage. They're looking to get to this position all night long.
Army is converting 44% of its 3rd downs this year. That's actually significantly lower than their mark last year. Here's the quarterback, Hopkins. He is wrapped up by a flock of red jerseys and stood up shy of the first down. He was about 2 yards short at the 33. Good gang tackle there by Western Kentucky's defense.
Yeah, and that's what they're going to have to do. There's going to be 2 elements for this Hilltopper defense that they're going to have to be strong in all night. One is contain, making sure that they don't allow Army to get outside of them. And 2 is backside pursuit. They had both of them happening on that play, and they're getting a chance to get off the field early.
There is 6'5" punter Zach Harding ready to kick it away. Clayton Bush, a true freshman from right here in Bowling Green, back deep to receive. Line drive kick. And Bush watches it roll by inside the 20. And it is touchdown there. Were you surprised to see Army punt there?
I was not. That backed up. But, you know, we talked about this. We're going to get into it tonight, which was a fascinating conversation this week with the offensive coordinator, head coach for Army, and how analytics plays a role in their decision-making of what to do in 4th and 1, 4th and 2, 4th and 3, 4th and 4, how it changes where they're at on the field, and it's all percentage-based. And so the one big take I had from that is if they decide to punt or not punt, I'm not questioning it.
That's a good point. They've got a book that says whether to punt or go for 2, whatever the situation may be. Here is Ty Story. There's the book on him so far, making his 3rd start for the Hilltoppers. The Arkansas transfer gives up the middle to the workhorse back, Gage Walker. And a decent first down pickup for the Hilltoppers. You actually had Western Kentucky's game against Louisville when starter Stephen Duncan got hurt. And what do you think of Story through his first couple of games?
Well, he's been efficient, and this is a guy that barely lost this competition heading into the season. So he was looking to be the starter. It turns out he gets to be that.
His first pass attempt of the night. There's a shot downfield, and he misses Jacour Pearson, the redshirt junior. Army wants Western Kentucky to take those shots downfield, and they almost hit that one.
Man, and that is, talking to the coaching staff, I think that was a big reason that earlier in the season, coming out of fall camp, Stephen Duncan at quarterback did win the job, and Ty Story didn't, was Stephen's ability to push the ball down the field and hit those throws. But Ty Story getting a chance. It's his team. No looking back. He's got to be able to hit those when he gets a shot like that.
Army loves to bring pressure as well. This is a 3rd down situation. They do bring a blitz. Quick slant over the middle is bobbled and dropped by Pearson. He had a lot of green turf in front of him if he hauled that in.
Wow. Very seldom do you see a quarterback miss an individual receiver for a touchdown, and then the next play, that same receiver drop a touchdown. There was nothing but green grass in front of Jacour Pearson right there. Back-to-back missed opportunities for this Hilltopper offense, but there's some space out there on the field to make plays, so they've got to get this right when they take the field again.
John Haggerty to punt it away for Western Kentucky. Army was in the vicinity for a potential block there. Here is Elijah Riley coming back the other way, and he is dropped. A form-fit tackle made by the return unit for Western Kentucky. Davis with a fine stop. Second possession for Army when we come back. Welcome back, Jordan. We think that turnovers and missed opportunities are going to be the story of this game. Western Kentucky had a couple on its first drive.
Yeah, Ja'Cour Pearson, the speedster, gets inside leverage of the defender, and there's nothing but green grass on there. You know, they've got a linebacker trying to run with one of the fastest guys in the conference, and Ty Storey is going to hate to watch that one on tape. But then they come back the next play, and Ja'Cour Pearson can't secure the catch, and I think you're right, Chris. This is going to be a game of turnovers, limiting turnovers, and then making explosive plays.
Slomka is the fullback, and Kelvin Hopkins Jr. under center. Army back to work for the second time today. Slomka gets to the 27, a gain of 2.
There's just something so cool about the lone running back in the backfield being back there with 2 hands on the ground. 4-point stance. That's just, I don't think that's going to get old the entire night. I love watching it. And then the fact that he's the leading rusher. So much about this Army offense is unique. The way they call the plays, they run, the way they execute the plays, and the way that they go about executing the plays is makes it fun.
Kel Walker was the bluff man in motion. He's the slot back, bottom of your screen. He goes again. This is the other fullback, Sandon McCoy, and he gets a bear hug by the interior of the Western Kentucky line. Jalen George in on the play, along with D'Angelo Malone, number 10, a player that we're really excited about defensively for Western Kentucky.
Yeah, D'Angelo Malone's going to get his name called a little bit tonight. This guy's got 13 tackles for a loss. That's leading the FBS right now. Dynamic player. He plays a lot of football in the backfield. He gets after the quarterback in the pass game, but you just hear the coaches talk all week about his backside pursuit and his ability to make offensive linemen miss.
On third down, Slomka up the shoot. Tackled from behind by Jawan Jones, and he appears to be about 1.5 yards shy of the first down.
And this is where it gets fun. Most teams, punt teams, jogging out there with no hesitation, field position, punt it, and they end up doing that. But when we talked to the coaches this week, they have a book, they work with a company, all analytics based, down distance, percentages. And so it's a good example of the coaching staff evaluating the opportunity from an analytics and a data perspective that it says, actually, nope, never mind, let's punt it away.
Takes the emotion out of the decision, Jeff Monken told us, as that punt is out of bounds. Easy decision for Clayton Bush, the return man for Western Kentucky. Stadium is your new way to watch national sports, the only 24/7 network available on both television and digital devices without a cable subscription. Live and classic games, daily live studio, original programming. Check your local television listings or go to watchstadium.com. Stadium, welcome to the game. Welcome to our game. It's great to be with you from Bowling Green, Kentucky. Tyson Helton, in his first season as Western Kentucky's head coach, he was actually the offensive coordinator here for the 2015-2016 seasons when this program was coached by Jeff Brom, and they had some record-breaking offenses in Bowling Green with Helton as the OC. Gage Walker right up the box. And tell you what, Western Kentucky looking a little bit like Army on that play with a dive up the middle. Helton comes from a football family. His brother Clay, of course, is the head coach at USC. You know this staff pretty well at Western Kentucky.
I do. I'm in Southern California. I coach a lot of quarterbacks out there, and they've coached a couple of the guys that I have. Sam Darnold being one of them, and JT Daniels. And Tyson did a great job with the Trojans, but he's done a great job everywhere he's been, and finally gets a chance to have his own program, and he's off to a hot start.
Storey, quick release on the slant route. That's Jaquez Sloan. He is covered up at the 44-yard line. Western Kentucky picks up a first down.
Yeah, and Jaquez Sloan is real similar body type, actually, to Ja'Cour Pearson. They're both 5'9". They're both undersized, and they are both jitterbugs out there. They can roll with top-end speed. They can get in and out of their breaks. You know, this is a guy last season averaged 16 yards a catch. So these are all big play, explosive guys, and receivers that Army's going to want to keep in front of them tonight.
Open field tackling could be huge for Army's defense. Double reverse. This is Sloan. To the boundary. He is ushered out of bounds by Jalen McClinton. Good job by Army fielding that play.
Well, if I'm trying to win on a double reverse, I'm trying to catch somebody backside, not being disciplined and contained, but if I was going to do it, I wouldn't do it versus a program like Army when discipline is a foundational element. Great job by the Army defense, not getting bluffed, and keeping contained and making it just a modest gain instead of a gash down the sideline.
Army, the epitome of disciplined style of football, although their penalties are up this year, something they are working to correct, as you might imagine. Walker plants the foot and slips through down to the Army 47, 48 yard line, awfully close to the line to gain. It appears to be 3rd and short.
Gage Walker is such an easy guy to root for. Such a cool story. This guy was a DB a couple of months ago. This last spring, they flipped him over to offense. You know, we heard Brian Ellis, the offensive coordinator for the Hilltoppers, talk about when he was here years ago, he actually recruited Gage Walker. He was scouting somebody else. Gage Walker was the other running back. And when they came back to coach here, they said, what's that guy doing on defense? Let's give him the ball. And he's been effective.
Story's a big dude, 6'2", 225. He pushes the pile forward, and that moves the chains for Western Kentucky.
And so far, this Hilltopper offense has really been early on in the game, not really knowing how Army's going to play it because they are undersized up front, bring a lot of pressure. They know they don't have the same athletic talent as the Hilltoppers, and so they've got to win with scheme and discipline. So early on in the downs, a lot of first down runs from Brian Ellis in this offense, and then 2nd and 3rd down passes.
Here comes a blitz. It was picked up, and Story finds a soft spot in the zone. That is Lucky Jackson. He is thrown down by Jeremiah Lowry.
Yeah, when you run the ball effectively, the way the Hilltoppers have on first down, it opens it up for the play action. Ty Story showing run from gun, takes 3 steps from the pocket. Beautiful over route, big chunk yardage. You know, the biggest discrepancy between Steve and Duncan playing is they had 11 explosive pass plays of over 20 yards. Since Ty's taken over, they've only had 5. There's their 6, and they're going to need to continue to make those to be able to win this game.
Clean pocket for Story over the middle, and that may have been tipped at the last moment by Javari Bordeaux. Fine defense by Army as the intended target on the play.
Ty Story's going to want that one back. Another play action, post over the top, wide open, and just can't get it out in front of the receiver. There's nothing but green grass. You know, as a quarterback, you see somebody open in the end zone and you think, oh my goodness, I've got to drive this on him right now. It's difficult to take that split second and look out in front of the receiver and realize that they've got the rest of the back of the end zone to throw it to. Ty Story, that's 2 he's going to want back, but there's a lot of game left.
Ja'Cour Pearson on the end around. Keeps going after absorbing a hit by Eric Smith. And he's inside the 20. Western Kentucky is in the red zone.
Yeah, and the whole name of the game for Army defense, when the ball is in the hands of one of these quick, dynamic playmaking receivers, these little guys, is not forcing yourself to have to make open field tackles. The only way to do that is to have effort and pursuit. And what you saw right there is on that end around, you see 4, 5, 6 Black Knights around the ball. Ton of effort out of this defense, pursuing and not ever allowing one of their defenders to be in a one-on-one open field tackle situation.
John Luce, the defensive coordinator for Army, said his team missed too many tackles against Tulane last week. Walker down inside the 5.
Yeah, and Walker, as quick as he is and as much as he loves to get outside the edge and break contain, he's a great runner between the tackles. He runs behind his pads. He plays low. You know, we've got 5 returning starters on this offensive line here. Great patience. As you see, he sets up the B gap right between the guard and tackle, puts his foot in the ground, and gets vertical. Really good red zone running by Gage Walker.
He's already got 3 100-yard games this year. Again, it's his first season at the position. End around, Sloan plants his foot and is met by a wall of Black Knights. Elijah Riley, Cedric Cunningham were in on the mix, along with Jalen McClinton. Just about everybody on the right side of the defense for Army was in on that stop.
Yeah, that was a definition of a gang tackle. And at that size, I don't know that you want to be gang tackled. Some courage out of him on that one, but great effort trying to get it in there, and still 2nd and goal inside here. Chance to take the lead.
Story on the keeper. He's across the line and in for a touchdown.
You know, after that first series by the Hilltoppers with a couple of missed opportunities, that's a fantastic drive. They ran the ball in that series. They play actioned in that series. They jet sweeped effectively in that series. Really good play calling by Brian Ellis. Really good execution, both up front and by the skill positions on that offensive possession. That's a great response.
Corey Munson, the true freshman, splits the uprights on the hold by John Haggerty. And another look at the touchdown, just a 2-yard plunge by Ty Story. His first rushing touchdown of the season gets Western Kentucky out to a 7-0 lead. Tonight's game is brought to you by Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission. Western Kentucky has Navy's arch rival Army tonight, and it's 7-0 Hilltoppers as the sun sets beyond the hill in Bowling Green.
I'll tell you what, that mascot is one of the all-time greats. Was he Big Red?
Big Red.
Big Red. Looks like a cartoon character. I love it.
His origins are mysterious. So is his identity, somewhat amorphous. But he's got the crowd ready to go here in Bowling Green. Red towels stashed in some pockets as well. 1st and 10, Army from the 25 when we return. Late first quarter, Western Kentucky by a touchdown. Well, it's been quite a turnaround for Jeff Monken as the head coach of the Army Black Knights. He's in his 6th season in West Point. Here's but a sampling of what he's done. Jordan, he's put Army back on the map as far as being a legitimate top 25 team. The Black Knights ended last year ranked number 19. They come in on back-to-back 10-win seasons, and nobody wants to play Army right now under Jeff Monken.
No, they don't. You look at that second one, the back-to-back Commander-in-Chief trophies. I'd make the argument that for the Alabama Crimson Tide fan base and the Clemson fan base, what a national championship means to them is what that Commander-in-Chief trophy means to the men and the women of Army and West Point. I mean, just such an important game for him to win 3 in a row, 21 wins in the last 2 years. He has this place rolling, and you're right. Michigan sure didn't want to play them. I don't think anybody wants to play this team. They're hard to prepare for. They're disciplined. They don't make mistakes. They play 4 quarters effort. It's a tough team to play against.
And I thought it was really telling if you read the post-game quotes from Tulane head coach Willie Fritz after his team beat Army last week. He was talking about what a great win it was for his program, and it's become a signature win now when you beat Army.
It has.
On the pitch out, that is Artis Hobbs. His first carry of the day, and Army moves the ball across the 40 to its own 41.
Yeah, and so much about this offense is it all starts and it's predicated off the dive to that fullback. The slum cut coming out of the backfield. We talked to defensive coordinator Clayton White this week. So much of stopping this offense is about where the defense's eyes are. Up front, they have to key the fullback. Linebackers have to key the fullback. As soon as that quarterback pulls the ball out of the belly of the fullback, their eyes have to move on to the next player, which is the quarterback. So Western Kentucky not getting their eyes in the right spot. They get outflanked with the option, and that's how this offense rolls. You have to be disciplined every single snap, your eyes in the right spot, and you have to be able to shed blocks, because this up front for this Army Black Knight offense, these guys will get their hands on you quick up front, and they're powerful. They like to move people around.
It is a banged-up offensive line. J.B. Hunter is at center right now, not the starter Peyton Reeder for Army. That's Slomka up the gut, and he runs into Kyle Bailey, along with Carson Jordan on the defensive line for Western Kentucky. And it's 3rd down and short for the Cadets.
That's exactly where they want to be. And typically, again, I said earlier, you know, this side of the 50, you don't know if you're in 4-down territory or not. I got to think the analytics say this is 4-down territory. And what that means for this offense is, yeah, they'd love to get a 1st down, but they may be trying to call a play that is expecting them to get 1 or 2 yards, which is just, for a guy like me, I played quarterback, this is backwards. But it's effective.
Now notice the unbalanced line here for Army. Up the middle to Slomka. He's ruled down right at the 50. Army needed the Western Kentucky 49-yard line. Here comes 4th and 1. And Jordan, I don't see the punt unit.
No, nobody goes for 4th downs more than this offense. You look at the numbers. And they're down this year. The fourth downs right now is just a down where they just expect to go on it when you're in 4th and short. But the conversions, as high as it is across college football, it's still lower for them.
And you see Army is 9 for 12 on 4th downs this season, but that's actually lower than their percentage last year. Hopkins trips, but he puts his foot in the dirt and keeps on going. He picks up 3 yards. He needed 1. First down Army on their first 4th down attempt of the ball game.
It's just so different to be sitting up in here in the booth and watching a team get a first down and everybody walk back to the huddle, which not a lot of teams do anymore, and then walk to the line of scrimmage, and they just chew up clock so hard on the defense.
Hopkins on the pitch. Hobbs inside the 45 to the 44. He's wrestled down by Kyle Bailey, the junior out of Carrollton, Georgia.
And if they can get 3 yards on first down, that's a positive play. Again, this is all about the numbers. If they can get 3 yards on each of the first 3 downs, then easy math, there's 1 yard to go on 4th down. So they don't look at that as anything other than a positive play and well executed.
As Army sees it a lot of times, they've got 3 downs to get 8 yards, not 10, because they know they're going to go for it on 4th down more often than not. And Slomka, with 2 hands wrapped around the football, gets to the 41-yard line. 3rd down and 4.
One of the things that was interesting, too, this week is we sat down with the coaches. We heard Clayton White talk about how this Hilltopper defense, they've been practicing this style of offense, not this week, not last week. They started this in spring ball. They had an Army period in spring ball. And then in fall camp, they would have periods of practice just dedicated for this game, set aside, non-conference, week 6. Still, this has been a huge point of emphasis for this defense.
Kel Walker with the shifty moves. He didn't get much, but he gets inside the 40-yard line to set up a 4th down and just about 1.
The interesting thing to see is when we get later in this game in the 4th quarter, is this defense going to be able to continue to pursue the way that they are right now? That was a fantastic job chasing sideline to sideline, 5-6 hats on the ball. Can they do it for 4 quarters is the name of the game.
Dusk in Bowling Green, Kentucky, 7-0 Hilltoppers, but Army is on the move. And analytics has become such a big part of the game of football, Jordan. I know you know a lot about this, but Army subscribes to a service called Championship Analytics that provides a book, literally a book, each week based on Army's opponents that dictates what they will do in certain in-game situations. It takes the emotion out of Jeff Monken's decision-making, and it makes Army even more lethal on offense and defense.
Yeah, facts over feelings is how they make decisions around here, and it works. It keeps going like this. These coaches are going to be replaced by robots, and then this whole thing's over. It's just going to be an analytics-based game. But no, it's really interesting to hear because this game is so much about emotion. It's so much about, oh, I feel like we can get this. It's, you hear a lot of coaches talk about it in reference gambling, where we're going to go for it, or I don't know about this time. But the analytics takes that out of it and allows them to just go by the book and continue to make the same consistent decisions over and over. They still have to execute, but it allows them, gives them a lot of confidence, it sounds like, that when they're making a decision, they're making the right one.
LaShawn Terrell is the injured Hilltopper right now. And he is getting some attention right now from Western Kentucky. Terrell is helped up. You see Jessica Judd, the athletic trainer for Western Kentucky, helping him off the field. One of just a handful of head football female athletic trainers across the country.
Well, I had one. I played ball at UTEP. Dawn Hearn. I feel like she's been there for 40 years. She was actually one of the first. Really cool and gonna make a difference.
No doubt. And so Army will try and pick this drive back up just 5 seconds into the second quarter. And to the point about this analytics-based attack for Jeff Monken, he got it from his coaching buddy, Willie Fritz, who is now the head coach at Tulane, the team that just beat Army last week. And he said, you don't wake up on Sunday morning anymore thinking, darn it, I should have kicked that field goal, or I should have punted when I had the ball at midfield. It's, you know that you're making the decision that is going to put your team in the best chance to win. Now here's the first pass of the day for Army, and just beyond the fingertips of Camden Harrison, the native of Allen, Texas, in comes a very late flag, which, by the way, is also the first penalty of the game here in the early stages of the second quarter.
Yeah, this will be interesting. It's the Hilltoppers that are celebrating.
First pass of the night for Army. Hopkins threw a career-high 24 passes against Tulane last week because the Black Knights were down for much of the game. And they just slapped an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty on Camden Harrison, the wide receiver for Army, and that backs the Black Knights up all the way to the 50-yard line.
That's not a penalty you see too often from a program this disciplined.
No.
You know, you mentioned Hopkins with 24 attempts last week. He only completed 9 of them. Completion percentage, because of how seldom they throw it, when they do, they throw it down the field. It's lower percentage throws. So he only completed 39% of his passes last week, but when he does, it's for big chunk yardage.
Now, these are the situations that Army has to avoid, these long down and distance situations, as Walker scampers ahead to the 44-yard line. A pickup of 6, but Army needs to get all the way to the 25-yard line to move the chains on 3rd and a mile.
Yeah, in these types of situations, they're definitely 4-down territory if they get to the down and distance they want. But the playbook is so limited because of what their style of play is. When you get in this down and distance, it's essentially a drive killer as soon as the penalty happens, as opposed to most offenses can get a piece back and then be in 3rd and long and try and make a play.
Up the gut to McCoy. He's got some room down close to the 35-yard line. Tackle made by Antoine Kincaid, the junior from Valdosta High School in Georgia. A lot of Georgia players on this Western Kentucky roster. And it sets up 4th down for Army. And they dispatch the punt unit here. Army's week 1 kicker, Cole Talley, is out of the game tonight. David Cooper, the senior, is doing the PAT field goal duties. And Jeff Monken said his range is about 42 yards, so Army is well out of that right now. And here's the punt from Zach Potter. Pinwheeling its way to the end zone. It takes a great bounce as it traces the 1-yard line. And it's touchdown by Army. A beautiful kick by Potter. And the man who touched it down sets Western Kentucky up with bad field position when we come back. Army has just pinned Western Kentucky at its own 1-yard line thanks to a fantastic punt from senior Zach Potter. Check this out.
I mean, this is potentially the greatest punt I've seen in my entire life. This guy, he downs it inside the 5, and then he puts enough spin on it. I would love to believe that he did that on purpose, and it rolls along the 1-yard line. Absolutely incredible punt. And it's going to be a long way to go for this offense.
Chris Skyers was the man who touched it down for Army inside the 1. Double tight formation for Western Kentucky, and they nudge the football Out to about the 3. More like the 2, really. Gage Walker on the carry.
And so much of this Army defense is about stunting. They're an odd front, which means they're going to have somebody head up on the center, and they're going to have 2 other defensive tackles, and then they're going to have 4 linebackers in the game. And so there's 3 guys down front, 7 guys in the box, and they're going to be able, they're not just going to line up and try and push you back. 1 guy's going in, 1 guy's going out. They're going to continue to stunt and loop and twist and give this offensive line really tough angles.
They just bring 4 there, and that pass is hauled in by Lucky Jackson. And he's covered up by 2 members of that Army linebacking core, Eric Smith, Cole Christensen. The first player to get there was the captain, Elijah Riley, on the boundary corner position.
Lucky Jackson, one of the better names in college football.
One of the more fortunate players in the game, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Originally Dontavian. But he had a big year last year. He's averaging 10 yards a catch last year. He's a down-the-field threat.
Yeah.
And he's getting involved early here.
Ball always bounces his way. 3rd and short. Over the middle. Pass is caught. Ja'Cour Pearson finally connects with Ty Storey. They had a couple of missed connections on the first drive of the game for Western Kentucky, but they convert on 3rd down there to the 25.
Well, that was a very similar play to the one that he dropped on the opening series. A little stunt route, he widens like he's going to run a seam, puts his foot in the ground, crosses the defender's face. You know, they continue to call plays. Brian Ellis, Tyson Hilton continue to call plays where Ty Storey has everything reading it in front of him and a lot of in-breaking routes.
Going through his reads, he dirts that one. Gage Walker was in the vicinity, but Storey clearly had no intention of completing that pass.
Yeah, it was an attempted screen here to Gage Walker. Trying to get these guys going sideline to sideline. Here's a shot of Stephen Duncan. You know, he beat out Ty Storey in fall camp. Ty Storey transferred from Arkansas. Stephen Duncan had a really big fall camp. Started off, had a tough first game, and then won 2 in a row. Hurt in the Louisville game, and everybody in the roster's got to be ready to play.
Hauled in by Walker, the running back out of the flat. He spins through a tackle and is brought down at the 38-yard line. Finally by Jacob Covington. And a first down for Western Kentucky.
You know, I mentioned earlier in the game that coming into the night, Gage Walker has had 88% of the yards that they've ran for on offense, but he's been limited in the pass game. They haven't thrown him too many balls. So the attempted screen a few plays ago, swing route there, they're just trying to get the ball in his hands as much as possible, and the spin move and the finish for that first down is exactly why.
And this is LaFrance, a wide receiver who is lined up in the backfield there, and he gets around the end and picks up close to 10. Garland LaFrance, the sophomore.
5'10", 175, and can absolutely roll. Really, really crafty. This Hilltopper offense just trying to get the ball in space to as many guys as they can, and now we've got a Black Knight on the ground.
Just off the Western Kentucky sideline.
And that's Jalen McClinton.
We'll be back after this while Army looks at the injured safety. Tonight's game is brought to you by Persil. Tackle tough game day stains with Persil Pro Clean Laundry Detergent, a premium clean for your premium gear. Big Red, the towel, on display in the bookstore. I don't think those are kickers' footballs that they got up there, Jordan. I think those are the real things. Those are the good ones that quarterbacks want, right?
Those are the good ones.
Yeah. Great campus here in Bowling Green. We were checking out the Union earlier today. A fantastic tailgate atmosphere as well, just across the street from the stadium here. High atop the hill in South Central Kentucky. First down out of the injury timeout. Gage Walker with the stutter step runs into Ryan Velez. And he's brought down after a pickup into Army territory. Second down and short coming up for the Hilltoppers.
Yeah, and just before the break, we saw safety Jalen McClinton. Quite a bit of pain on the sideline. He was able to walk off the field under his own power. And senior, always hate to see those guys go down, but he looks like he was able to walk off just fine.
Clinton has been banged up this year for Army. He's already missed some time. They hope to get him out on the field soon to contain guys like Gage Walker. Man, can he fly, as he's into the secondary for Army and down to the 31.
Yeah, and it's great pursuit by the Army defense, but Gage Walker is just running at another gear. You've got guys pursuing from the backside, and Gage Walker just too fast. As soon as he gets to top end speed, can put his foot in the ground and get vertical upfield. It's too far down the field for the Army to be able to wrap him up and contain him.
7 carries, 46 yards today. Now this play looks doomed, and it basically is, as Ja'Cour Pearson intended to bring that to the bottom of your screen and had to turn around as there were white jerseys waiting for him. Nolan Cockrell finally brought that play to an end, and a big-time loss for Western Kentucky.
Yeah, loss of 2 yards, but that could have been a lot worse. Heads-up job by Pearson, just putting his foot in the ground and getting back to trying to get back to the line of scrimmage.
You got to cut your losses. Story gets it out of there, and the pass is caught by Lucky Jackson, and he is rolled down just inside the 30-yard line by the freshman Jabari Moore.
And this is good to see. Watching Ty Storey drive the ball across the field from the right hash to the left sideline. The biggest difference between Stephen Duncan and Ty Storey was just arm talent. It was arm strength. Stephen Duncan has a huge arm. Ty Storey more of a dink and dunk screen, crossing route thrower. He's missed some opportunities down the field tonight, but that was good to see him put his foot in the ground and drive the ball to the perimeter of the field. That's a confidence building, not just throw for Ty Storey, but also for the play caller.
Western Kentucky has been good on third down today. Walker is met in the hole by Velez. He rolled off him and only picked up about a yard. Fourth down coming up for Western Kentucky.
Yeah, and looking at the effect that two different quarterbacks have had, it's really a tale of two different offenses. You know, before, under Stephen Duncan, the first 3 games, and then the last 2 games, the difference is they have 3 less points. They're throwing for 100 less yards, 72 less passing yards, but they also have had fewer turnovers. The Ty Storey 2-0, trying to get his 3rd one tonight.
Storey in trouble, hit as he throws, end zone bound, and the pass is incomplete. Looking for Jackson, Moore, the freshman, in coverage.
Yeah, and this is a great job by Ty Storey extending the play. Great job by Lucky Jackson getting across the field, but it's an even better job by the defense, getting a hand in there, not giving up on the play, turning back for the ball. It's not face guarding. You know, if he doesn't look back at the ball, that's a face guarding. They're going to get the ball down there on the 1-yard line, but he doesn't. He gets his eyes back, hands up on the ball. Very, very disciplined play. And they get off the field.
Is that pass behind him?
It was a little bit behind him, but I don't credit him. He had guys in his face, extending the play, bouncing around. That's a really, he gave his guy a chance. I think that's a good play by Ty Storey.
Slonka for Army to the 30 as the Cadets take over following that 4th down try by Western Kentucky. Remember, on Army's last drive, they were called for an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty that set them back 15 yards. And in this very methodical offense that relies on 3 to 4 yard gains to matriculate the ball downfield, to borrow a term from Hank Stram, you can't have penalties like that to set you back.
Yeah, you're not really going to get sacked, but you can't have penalties and you can't have turnovers.
Minimal gain there.
They just want 2, 3, 4 yard gains. Chew up the clock, move the sticks, get to 3rd and short, get to 4th and short. But yeah, you can't have those negative plays. That's essentially, you know, dooming that drive when you get moved back 10 yards.
Yes. Now 3rd down and 4, and Army, this is off brand, is 0 for 5 on 3rd down conversions tonight. Again, this is a team that last year converted a whopping 57% of its 3rd down tries. Here's Hopkins Jr., the quarterback. He pitches it out to Kenneth Walker, and he is drilled just inside the 35-yard line. The first to arrive was Antoine Kincaid.
Kincaid loves contact. This is just great pursuit. This wasn't any individual player on the defense making a heads-up play. This is just the entire left side of the defense pursuing. And the whole story tonight is, can they do that for 4 quarters? Because they are going to have to. Because I know this Black Knight offense is not going to slow down at all through the entirety of this game. But so far, this Hilltopper defense has been impressive. They have been flying to the ball. Not just the guy at the point of attack, but everybody on the defense has been pursuing.
Zach Harding with the punt. And it will be returned by Bush. He doesn't get very far, just to about the 13-yard line. Western Kentucky up a touchdown as we zero in on halftime. Tyson Helton has been around football virtually his entire life. This is his first season as a head coach, but it runs in his family. You see his dad Kim in the middle and his older brother Clay on the right. When the three were at the University of Houston, his dad was the head coach in H-Town from 1993 to 1999. He was then on the staff of Clay at USC for 2 years, 2017 and 2018. He worked with Sam Darnold, a player that my broadcast partner Jordan Palmer knows very well. And now he is the man here in Bowling Green. He was an offensive coordinator here under Jeff Brom in 2014 and 2015. And he knows offense, Jordan, you know that, and he's trying to get this Western Kentucky offense on track with Ty Storey starting in his 3rd game in place of the injured Stephen Duncan.
Yeah, he has. I've known Tyson and Clay a long time, and so cool to be able to be around not just your brother, but also your dad. Kim Helton also, you know, near and dear to this staff. He's working with them. He's on the sideline.
Great point.
You know, I know from experience, so my older brother, Carson Palmer, we played together for 4 years for the Cincinnati Bengals. I know just how cool it is to work with your brother in a football space, and really cool football family.
Storey to Jackson. And pushed out of bounds by Javari Bordeaux, the junior from Miramar, Florida. That's right, Pops is still around the game. Kim Helton is an offensive analyst for Western Kentucky on his youngest son's staff. And Tyson said he's great to have around because he's been in just about every situation related to football you can possibly think of, and oftentimes has got an answer. He's like the walking analytics book that Army gets on their sideline. That's what Kim Helton is because of all of his time in the game.
He's like 80% analytics book, but like 20% Yoda.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
He's just not going to see too many things that he hasn't seen before.
Exactly. Storey on the running play. Remember, he's got the only touchdown of the game so far on the ground, a 2-yard plunge. 3rd down, and make that 2nd down coming up.
Yeah, and speaking of the connections here with family, another person who's either like a youngest son of Kim or maybe even a grandson is offense coordinator Brian Ellis. You know, Tyson told us that he first met Brian Ellis when he was 18 years old.
Yeah.
And everywhere that Tyson's gone since, Brian has as well, and here he is dialing up a really good game plan so far.
A pass on the money to Ja'Cour Pearson. Forward progress puts him down at the 37. And what adjustments can Army really make to take away the middle of the field like that? Because that's where Western Kentucky's going.
Well, that's the 3rd time we've seen Ja'Cour Pearson on that stunt route. He's just, again, he's taking a couple of steps from the slot. He's widening the defender, putting the defender on his outside shoulder, and then crossing his face. And, you know, within 5 yards, you can put hands on him. So from a defensive perspective, you cannot continue to play off in the slot. You've got to be able to be aggressive, use your hands at the line of scrimmage earlier, and at least make that either a contested throw or get Ty to come off the read.
Here's Sloan with some space, and a cut gets him to midfield and a yard beyond.
And this is what the Army defense was concerned with all week, is these speedy receivers. None of them are very big. These speedy receivers, though, getting in space. These guys are all pretty dynamic runners. Any one of them could be a kicker, punt returner. But just coming across, jet sweep from Gunn. Put his foot in the ground, getting upfield. The thing I love about these receivers when they get the ball in their hands is they're not just trying to bounce everything. They know when there's nothing left outside and they continue to get vertical, and that's just a testament to this coaching staff.
This is LaFrance. No dice on that play. There is Jalen McClinton, the senior from Charlotte, who left the game earlier in the quarter with an injury, and he looks okay now.
Yeah, it's good to see him back on the field. He was rolling around in some pain and walked off under his own power, and then we saw him getting right on the sideline, and it's good to see him back out there. Again, this senior, he's played a lot of football. He's battled injuries. But he's not a guy that you want to take a couple of steps and hit you when he gets full speed. This guy's 210. And like a lot of these guys on this Army defense, this guy loves contact.
Second and long after the 5-yard loss, and there's a smack administered on Gage Walker, that time by Malcolm Morrison, who came in off the bench before that play, and he was raring to go.
Yeah, and these corners don't get a chance in practice to cover a lot of receivers. They have to come and fill in the run game. And so not the standard across college football. Do you see corners that love contact like this? But these guys love to put their head up against you, wrap up, and so disciplined, staying home, not letting anybody get outside. And what looks open to Ty Storey as that ball's coming out of his hand to Gage Walker in the flat, it's these DBs, they let that outside receiver go. They put their foot in the ground, they come forward, and he's bringing the wood.
And so it's Army that calls a timeout with 1:21 to go until halftime, and beautiful night atmosphere here in Bowling Green. Let's take a look at our fan of the game. Well, why don't we put that in the plural for you? Some disco going on the berm. That's where the students hang out.
Is that Will Greer? Will Greer with the beard.
Western Kentucky, I think, is fairly far from West Virginia. But fall break, some students hung around, and Army has traveled really well to Bowling Green as well. There's an Army base not that far away. Army bought 2,000 tickets for the game tonight. A lot of fatigues in the crowd tonight as Storey stretches his legs inside the 45 and down around the 42-yard line, about 3 yards shy of the first down.
Yeah, and that's just a great heads-up play by Ty Storey, getting a huge piece back and at least putting them in a position where, with this much left in the half, this field position, Army style of play, chewing up a lot of clock, not able to just drive down the field. This is Ty Storey allowing this Hilltopper offense to actually make a decision on here of what they want to do. But yeah, he drops back, he's looking downfield, doesn't see anything, gets vertical, 3rd and long, and getting to 4th and manageable. And again, Tyson Helton now is in a position where he can make a decision on what he wants to do here on 4th and 3.
3 games next Saturday on Stadium, a football triple header. Noon Eastern, Patriot League action, Lafayette and Georgetown. That game's on Stadium. At 4 o'clock, Middle Tennessee State visits North Texas. That's on Stadium. And last but certainly not least, Mountain West, San Diego State, San Jose State. That game's exclusively on Facebook at 7 o'clock. Again, that is all next week on Stadium.
Yeah, I'm calling that San Diego State game next weekend. And San Jose got beat today by Nevada, but they were down 39 to, I think, 7, and they came back and lost by 3. And
ouch.
Also went and got a win in Arkansas this year.
That's Storey's former program. The Arkansas transfer guns one to Ja'Cour Pearson, who's tackled by Morrison. And Western Kentucky is threatening here in the final 70 seconds of the half.
Yeah, and Ja'Cour Pearson continues to widen and cross the defender's face. We've seen him do it 3 times tonight. Now puts his foot in the ground, goes to the sideline. Huge 4th and 3 pickup, and points are back on the table.
Storey in trouble. He dumps it incomplete as he had Jacob Covington in his grill. Correction, that was Kwabena Bonsu.
Yeah, and this is a heads-up play by Ty Storey. When you get to this spot on the field, this situation in the half, you can't take a sack. Can't get a holding penalty, obviously can't turn it over, but you also can't take a sack. Great job getting the ball out of his hands there, and avoids essentially a drive-ending play if he loses 10 yards on that sack. Now you're talking about 2nd and 20 with this timeout situation. That's just a great job. A lot of times, those are the types of plays that don't show up on a stat sheet, but that's a drive-saving play.
Walker, a drive-extending player, gets to the 30-yard line. And to your point real quick, Jordan, Story took a sack in a very similar situation late in the first half last week against Old Dominion. It was a 20-3 win for Western Kentucky, but they didn't get any points on that drive. That was one of the mistakes that Tyson Helton said Story needs to clean up going into this week, and so far he has. 3rd and 4 in the final minute. That pass is caught by Sloan. He kept that one alive off the turf, and he was touched down by Elijah Riley.
Yeah, with 33 seconds left in the half, they still have 3 timeouts. This is where you're going to start to look at clock management. And, you know, Army uses the analytics like we talked about, but a lot of coaching staffs use analytics as well, more in these types of situations. When to call timeout based off the time left in the game, how many timeouts you have left, the field position. Tyson Helton electing to take a timeout, use one of them right there. There's now 22 seconds left. And you don't need much time right now to be able to get in the end zone, but what you don't want to do is waste clock in the huddle or waste clock getting back to the huddle or getting back to the line of scrimmage because you caught a ball in bounds or because you ran the ball for a gain.
I don't know about you, but I think Tyson Helton in Western Kentucky were content to run the clock out and get to the locker room with a 7-0 lead. But remember, Army called that timeout with a minute and change left in the game, and Western Kentucky then got a long run play from Ty Story on 3rd down to, in many ways, keep the drive alive, and now they've got their sights set on more points before halftime.
Yeah, and if anything, you know, they just put 2 seconds back. So there's 24 left now. They had 33 before they called timeout right there, so they still lost some. But with 2 timeouts, you're really looking to get the ball complete down the field and out of bounds. What you don't want to do is a 2, 3, 4, 5 yard catch. That doesn't do a whole lot for you. This isn't about first downs at this point.
Into the flat, it's Pearson. He had no blocking help, and he is dragged down by Adrees Patterson.
And right there, that's just a tough situation. You just lost 5 seconds. You lost 5 yards, making it more and more difficult. Now with less than 20 seconds left on the clock, you've got to get a chunk play here to be able to get inside the 20 and then give yourself 2 or 3 chances. You know, you really look to be able to give yourself 2 or 3 pass attempts with some time remaining for a field goal. You've got to be able to get inside the 20 and feel good about it. But flipping to the other side, Army defense, just a great job of pursuit right here. There's a bunch of guys taking on blockers and the free guy coming in making the open field tackle and putting this offense in a position where they've now got to make a chunk yardage play, because I don't know that they're in field goal range. They'd feel comfortable at this.
That was Patterson's 5th tackle of the season. Here's Walker. He runs into Cole Christensen, the captain linebacker for Army, and I don't know if you like that play call or not.
It just depends on what their range is for kicking. Yeah, that one's tough.
Centering up the football, it looked like.
Well, you'd say that, but there's 15 seconds left. What you don't want to do is kick a field goal and then have to kick off again and open yourself up to the chance of a crazy play. When you're in this situation, you want the half to end with your offense or your field goal team on the field. Those are the only 2 options you want. So yeah, that play call is interesting. It just depends on what they're trying to do here and what they think the range is on their kicker, but they're now without a timeout. They've got to complete this ball. It's got to be incomplete, or it's got to be receiver's got to run out of bounds. And so Army obviously knows that. They're going to be working from the outside in, trying to keep guys out, from getting out of bounds, but also keep them from giving up a big play.
Well, and ideally as a coach, you want 1 timeout in your back pocket in a situation like this so you can rush or don't have to rush your field goal unit onto the field. That's not a luxury Western Kentucky has right now. To the sideline, and the pass is dropped. It was only going to be for a negligible gain anyway. Lucky Jackson couldn't bring it in. And now the field goal unit trots out onto the field.
Yeah, and this is a little bit of a squandered opportunity by this offense, because now you're kicking a field goal with 11 seconds left, which means you got to kick the ball off after this if you make it. If you miss it, you're not necessarily playing an offense that's going to go down the field in 11 seconds. But
Corey Munson has been good for Western Kentucky this year. He's 6 of 9 on the season, and he's twice been named Conference USA Special Teams Player of the Week. This one is in the air and no good. Missed opportunities. We've said this a couple of times now. Which team can limit missed opportunities is going to win this game. In Western Kentucky, they lead, yes, but they have certainly missed some opportunities, the latest being right there. Join us next Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern from State College for Stadium Kickoff Live at the Michigan-Penn State game. Jamie Sire is the host. She's with Penn State legend O.J. McDuffie and Brett McMurphy. They give you all the latest news and information across the college football landscape. Stadium Kickoff Live from Penn State at 10 Eastern on WatchStadium.com. So it's Western Kentucky's defense that is on the field to end the first half. And Kelvin Hopkins Jr. hasn't done a lot on the ground tonight for Army, and he carries the first half to a close with a gain of about 3. Army kept off the scoreboard in the first half, but they only trail by 7. Ball control game. Ty Story has gotten into the end zone once. Western Kentucky knows it'll need more than 7 to hold off Army in Bowling Green.
My dad was in the Army for 9 years. For me, I know for my dad being in the military, so he's kind of excited about this game. I think he's going for the Army anyway. I also have a different take on it. Before committing to NC State, I was at the Naval Academy, so I kind of understand what those guys went through to prepare to play us, and just the sacrifices that they made. So I'm really got much respect.
My father, he's been in the military. He's been there 9 years. I mean, just knowing that those guys, they already kind of like made up their minds what they want to do with their life, but they're still coming out here to play football knowing that they want to go serve the country. I highly respect them for that. Appreciate it, Pops. Thank you to everybody who's serving the country, protecting us, protecting their families.
My father, he is in the Army. He's been serving for 23 years. My family, we've moved around the world, across the country and everything. I just think it's cool to just experience different places and stuff like that. I feel like I'm always comfortable just being in different situations and stuff like that, especially being a football player and stuff like that. I think it's pretty cool.
My dad was in the military, Air Force specifically, for 23 years, retired as Master Sergeant. I think the sense of pride, being able to see my dad, like at sporting events or something, stand up and he salutes the flag, makes me really proud to call him my father. I just want to thank him for all the commitment he has done for me, taking me to all these football camps or games. He only missed one high school football game, and that's because his truck broke down, but he was really upset about that. But yeah, I just want to thank him for his commitment to me and get me here.
Hi, it's Michael Kim from our stadium studios in Chicago. We will get you back out to the second half in just a bit, but right now let's take a look at some of the top plays from last weekend in Conference USA.
Stanley inside the 5 and inside the end zone. And Lucius Stanley, his second touchdown of the quarter, and it's now a 2-score lead for UAB.
Rice actually is there. Makes the initial, could have made the initial play, but Lucius Stanley's able to.
Being able to keep it on the ground and have a ton of success, and they had the one touchdown pass earlier that was a pretty successful
McCormick
play.
has the carry, and he's got daylight, and he is gonna go. Touchdown UTSA. McCormick putting this game on ice.
Well, if there was a dagger, that was the one. Here's a penalty.
Is a disruptor on that UAB defense. Again, it's Walter. He's got room. He's inside the 30. Can anybody catch Walter? No, they cannot, and just like that.
Bigger than that one right now. Obviously a huge hole, great vision by Walter as he just takes it up the middle and outruns everybody on the UAB Blazer defense.
Personal foul penalty was on Valentine of Rice. Johnston has time. He's got Parham, and Parham is going to score again. Another big strike out of that UAB offense.
Yeah, Johnson just found Parham right down the middle between two Rice defenders. From scrimmage, Johnson, excellent protection, and delivers a strike to Parham down the middle of the field. What a great turn of events for these Blazers.
But you know, when you're going against these experienced safeties, you got to be cognizant of the looks in the pre-snap.
Pressure off the edge, screen delivers. What a catch, Levias, who brings it in. Armani Levias to the house, touchdown Marshall. One-handed grab, the juggle, and then the sprint for 6, 75 yards. Was he inbounds, Shave, when he spun away from the defender there?
I think so. I think that's a clear touchdown. And
let's take a look.
Yeah, well, you can see
it might have a review here. Let's see that right foot. Oh, he's in bounds. That's fine. I think that's just fine.
Here is the only score of the game so far. Western Kentucky quarterback Ty Storey with a 2-yard plunge. It's 7-0 at halftime as Conference USA, the Conference of Western Kentucky, celebrates its 25th year anniversary this year. We reflect back to 1995 and asked the Conference USA coaches what they were doing 25 years ago.
In 1995, I was
1995, I was getting my coaching career started. I was at the University of Maine.
Quarterback coach, assistant coach at Clemson University.
1995, offensive coordinator at Kansas State, a young coach, 32 years old.
I was a high school coach. I was in South Georgia and coaching at Coffee County High School.
10 years old, so what would I have been, 4th grade, 5th grade?
Well, in 1995, I was assistant head coach at Western University and dreamed at that point someday being a head coach.
Was hoping one day to be a head coach someday.
Just starting really to learn the game of football.
I had just left the Dallas Cowboys as the defensive coordinator and became the head football coach at the University of Miami in 1995.
I was in my 2nd year as the head football coach at the University of Connecticut.
95, I wasn't old enough to make many good decisions.
1995, I just graduated high school. I would have been a sophomore in high school.
I just had my 2nd child that year.
My first son was born, my only son was born in 1995.
No, it was 96 I had my 2nd child. So I had 1 child in that year.
Not a care in the world.
I think, yeah. And was off to Fresno State.
Player at Nicholls State University.
We made it to state semifinals that year in football, Muskogee Roughers. We played Midwest City, came up a little short there in the semifinals.
Married, head football coach, 30 years old, the whole world in front of you.
What do you mean? I was either getting S's or U's on my report card for satisfactory or unsatisfactory, so.
Yeah, 25 years, that's a minute ago.
It's been a good defensive battle between Army and Western Kentucky in the first half. Army loves to run the football, and it seems like every time they've toted the rock, there have been a lot of red jerseys flocking to the football. Hello there. We're excited for the second half alongside Jordan Palmer. I'm Chris Fosters. Now, the quarterback in you, I'm sure, was hoping for a lot more than just 7 points in the first half, but what surprised you about what we saw in the first half of play tonight?
Well, you know, it's been low scoring for sure, but there's still been a lot of plays. But for this Hilltopper offense, they haven't turned it over yet. But one of the worst things you can do as a quarterback, most people think that's throwing an interception. It's not. It's overthrowing a touchdown, because in an interception, you don't necessarily take 7 points off the board. They did on that play. But on the other side of the ball, this Hilltopper defense is swarming. This is such a difficult offense to prepare for. Clayton White, the defensive coordinator for the Hilltoppers, talked about how long they've been preparing for this game, all the way back to spring ball. And it shows. These guys, from the start to finish, they've been great at the point of attack. They've been swarming from the backside on defense, and they're pitching a shutout here in the first half.
Not unusual to see Army not pass for any yards in the first half. What is unusual is to see the Black Knights just 0 for 6 on third downs. That was their bread and butter a season ago, and they converted over 57% of the time on third down. Now, Army does have a couple of fourth down conversions in the first half to balance things out, but we are ready to roll. Half number 2, temperatures cooling quickly here in South Central Kentucky as Garland LaFrance brings this one back, stretches it out wide, and on the cutback, he is chopped down across the 20-yard line. Army's defense has already given up more passing yards to Western Kentucky tonight than they average in an entire game this year. Western Kentucky has got a lot of first downs as well, Jordan.
Yeah, they have. I think they've just been executing. You know, I talked a second ago about that overthrown touchdown, but aside from that, I thought that they're stretching the ball to the perimeter. They're running it effectively. The play actions worked early in the first half. We'll see if they get back to that. I've been impressed with Ty Storey and also with the play calling by Brian Ellis.
Tell you what, I've been impressed with Gage Walker, the running back for Western Kentucky. He's bottled up by Cole Christensen at the end of that run. He's out to the 31-yard line, a gain of 8.
You know, the other people we should give some love to are the big boys up front for Western Kentucky. This is one of 2 teams that returned all of its starters from the year before. Not just starting linemen, but they started every game last year. Only Western Kentucky and Oregon did that, brought all of their starts back, and you can see these guys are controlling the line of scrimmage.
Walker again, in his first year at the running back position, he has turned into a bell cow for Western Kentucky, and he moves the chains. Couple of carries for him to start the third quarter.
Yeah, he's just a football player. This wasn't a guy who didn't get on the field last year. I mean, he had a pick 6 last year, almost a dozen tackles. He was an effective defender last year, but he's a dynamic runner. And just right there, being able to run the ball on first and second down is going to start to open up the play action. We'll see if the Hilltoppers are going to take a shot down the field at some point on this series.
Great point. There's a play action, Jordan, and into the flat. Walker's got his third touch of the drive, and he might not want another one after he was popped by Elijah Riley.
I mean, if you play defense, this is what you want. You want to be able to take 4 or 5 steps, put your chin in someone's chest, perfect form tackle, wrapped, lifting them off the ground. You know, most teams the night before a game, they'll have some sort of highlight deal to get the guys all jacked up, team dinner in the hotel, whatever. That one's making the reel next week.
Yes, it is. Second down and 10. It was ruled an incompletion. Here comes a blitz. Christensen nearly wrapped up Storey, and one of his teammates got the job done instead. Make that multiple cadets who bottle up Ty Storey for a loss of a yard.
Yeah, this is what Army wants to do. They want to, obviously they want to control the line of scrimmage, but they want to win with confusion too. And when you stunt and bring as many pressures as they love to bring corners off the slot. They love to bring the nickel from the other slot. And they also love to twist the linebackers, what you call a cross dog. That's what that was right there. Cole Christensen, the free runner, moves Ty off of his spot. And they get a big sack and force the 3rd and long.
Another blitz. Storey escapes to the 45. He's ridden down after he picks up a Western Kentucky first down with his legs. Brought down by Riley.
And this is the 2nd time we've seen Ty Storey get creative and get a huge 3rd down conversion right here. There's nothing down the field. They bring pressure. Running back stays in to protect, which means he loses his check down, and he just gets north and south for a huge conversion. Those types of plays are absolute backbreakers for defenses because you've got everybody covered. You called a pressure. You covered it the exact way you wanted to, and you still give up a 3rd and long. Great play by Ty Storey.
RPO there, and Walker carries into plus territory for Western Kentucky. He's across the 50 to the 49. Gain of 5.
This defense is so aggressive. They're so used to bringing pressure and playing downhill. When I say downhill, I mean just moving towards the quarterback when he says set hut. When you do that and you run the ball well, I said it a minute ago, it opens up the play action. On the big hit, we did see a play action, right? Fake it to Gage Walker. Didn't like what he saw downfield, checked it down, but I wouldn't look for them to get away from that because they have been able to create some separation down the field.
Over the middle, Jaquez Sloan. He dances his way inside the 45 and is pushed back right at the line to gain, and the officials move the marker on a 5-yard pickup, a first down for Western Kentucky. Sloan a little bit hobbled after that gang tackle.
Yeah, Ty Storey just getting the ball out of his hands quickly, throwing with accuracy and anticipation. Senior quarterback, that's what you expect, but in these tight windows, you know, it looks on TV, oh, well, he's only 8 yards away, it's right in front of his face. Those are difficult throws because the margin for error is so slim. When those guys are moving that fast, you want to put it on their upfield shoulder and give them a chance to make a move, and that's exactly what Ty Storey did right there.
100 yards passing, over 30 yards rushing for Storey. Much more of a dual threat candidate, as you can see here. He rumbles his way to the 34-yard line, 9-yard pickup, and some late laundry at the end of that one.
Yeah, and they're going to get some extra yardage here too. It looks like Ty Storey takes a hit to the back of the helmet here.
Play, personal foul, targeting, defense number 43. The previous play is under review.
That looked like textbook targeting. There was helmet-to-helmet contact, and furthermore, Jeremiah Lowry was leading with his head, or appeared to.
Yeah, and this may be inadvertent. This is one of those ones where the ball carrier gets swung into you, but Ty gets absolutely smoked on the back of his head. This one is dangerous. These are scary hits. Good, tough run by Ty. And that's a compromising position. And these are bang-bang plays. They happen quick, but, you know, targeting has such a steep penalty, not to mention you can really hurt people when you do that. So
yeah,
these defenders have still got to be able to control themselves in that last second. Again, I'm an offensive guy saying that, but they're doing so much to protect the game. I know that Ty's a runner in that case, but they happen quickly. When a runner's getting swung down like that, the target moves.
So Lowry, number 43, was the player who put the hit on Ty Storey. And per the NCAA rule book, 9-1-3 and 9-1-4. 15-yard personal foul and ejection when targeting of a defenseless opponent with forcible contact to the head or neck area, check. Targeting with a forcible hit by a crown of helmet in any situation, also a check.
Targeting is confirmed. Number 43, Army is disqualified.
And not only
end of the run, first down.
Not only is Jeremiah Lowry disqualified from this game, he will also miss the first half of Army's next contest. And a starting defensive end, outside linebacker for Army, a player that they will miss for the rest of this game.
Yeah, and that's a tough play, and they have to make that penalty severe because it looks like Ty Storey's okay. Tough guy senior year, he's going to do whatever it takes. But still, the penalty of getting ejected, yeah, that stings, that hurts your defense, and it's a bummer to have to jog off the field and all that stuff, but the penalty to the guy receiving that hit can be devastating, and so good call by the officials.
That is Josh Simon, the tight end, who did a lot of running laterally, but did not really get upfield. And you mentioned all of the small body frames for the wide receivers. Simon is not one of them, Jordan. He's 6'5", 235.
He is. I got a chance to call the Western Kentucky Louisville game a few weeks ago, and they hit him in the slot real quick, and he took it 77 yards, ran past a lot of Louisville defenders on that. So not only a big, tall guy, also a fast guy, and this is a guy that chose Western Kentucky over Louisville, over Wake Forest, over ECU. So playmaker, and that's the first time they've got a chance to get the ball in his hands.
That was an hard target throw and a fine catch made by Quinn Jernigan, his first catch of the night and just his 10th of the season. He's a fifth-year senior out of Laverne, Tennessee.
He's another big body guy, 6'3", 210. And Quinn Jernigan is a guy that I know they want to get involved. Talking to the coaching staff, he's the guy who's got the ball skills down the field, back shoulder guy, can go up and get it and high point it. Good opportunity to get the ball in his hands there, and something I think they're going to look to do more of.
3rd and 1 from the 10. Two tight end set for Western Kentucky here. And Storey follows the lead block of Stephen Wachowski and picks up a first down to the 7, gain of 3.
Yeah, crafty play call. Not trying to get too cute and allow them to be able to stunt and stop a traditional run play. or to get outside the pocket and cut off half the field and only have 1 or 2 guys to throw to. Hey, no. Let's get in 2 tight end set. Let's shift them both across. And our quarterback, who's running the ball effectively tonight, let's ask him to get 2 yards.
We've talked a lot about what Western Kentucky's offense maybe lost at the quarterback position when Stephen Duncan was injured, but they've definitely gained a different dynamic with Ty Story, as that pass was nearly intercepted in the end zone by Army's captain Elijah Riley.
But to your point, no, Ty has been effective running the ball. And his runs are not coming on first down in irrelevant situations. They're coming on 3rd and longs. In that case, a 3rd and short. You only needed a couple yards.
Well, and we showed you on that graphic, Western Kentucky has lost X in these offensive categories. But what we didn't show you on that graphic was Western Kentucky is 2-0 with this guy at the quarterback spot. And that's ultimately the stat that you want to be positive in.
Yeah, it's the only one that really matters.
Yes.
But this is a guy, he won 3 state championships in Arkansas. He's the all-time leader in yards and touchdowns in state history.
And around. And Ja'Cour Pearson gets to the 5. 3rd and goal.
Now, they didn't get in right there, but when you continue to run jet sweeps, you make these defenders, instead of taking a step downhill towards stopping the run, they have to stay on their heels and look to the perimeters and make sure as people run across behind the quarterback, they have to respect that there's the threat of a jet sweep. And what that does over time is that allows your offensive line to be able to get to that 2nd level and have more effective run game. So that play may have gone for nothing, but that is going to continue to wear on this defense. It's going to open up the run game as this game goes on.
Pitch out to Gage Walker. Down to about the 3. Cedric Cunningham finished him off. Jalen McClinton disrupted the running lane for Walker on that play.
Yeah, it's the 2nd time we've seen Western Kentucky try and catch this Army defense off guard and try and see if they're disciplined backside. They did a double reverse earlier in the game. That time they faked the run to the left or to the right. They pitch it back, and this Army defense disciplined, staying at home, not letting anybody get outside of them. Really good stop right there and forcing a field goal.
Munson is 0 for 1 tonight. That one bangs off the upright and goes through. Munson with just a kiss off the friendly goalpost in the north end zone. 10-0 Western Kentucky. Thursday night on Stadium and WatchStadium.com. Catch the showdown between Nebraska's Omaha North and Bellevue West high schools. Action gets started at 8 p.m. Eastern. College football for your Saturday night. Army on the road to take on Western Kentucky and Bowling Green. 3rd meeting between these 2 programs. Army lost each of the first 2 to Western Kentucky. 1 here in Bowling Green, 1 in West Point. 2013 and 2014, the 2 years these 2 teams played. Time now for our moment of the game, and of course with Army as the opponent and the 101st Airborne Division located not very far from Bowling Green, Kentucky in Fort Campbell. They dropped in literally the game ball from high atop the stadium here on the hill. A wonderful moment and a great way to set the scene tonight.
Yeah, this was really cool. A couple of them dropped out of the sky. Then we had some helicopters flying over. A bunch of men and women who were protecting this country and the crowd. Really special. When you're around the military, I'm military in my family as well. It's special is kind of the only word that comes to mind.
Kelvin Hopkins Jr. got the pitch away to Kel Walker at the last possible minute, or second really, and Army is able to pick up some positive yardage on its first play of this drive. Timeout, as there's an injured cadet along the Western Kentucky sideline. Well, this has been shocking and a testament to Western Kentucky's defense. Not a whole lot of ground coverage for Army, a team that is 8th in the country in rush yards per game coming into this contest. And furthermore, in another metric that we were keeping our eyes on tonight, Jordan, time of possession. Army typically dominates time of possession. And the opposite is true tonight. It's Western Kentucky who has held onto the football for a substantially longer period of time than the Black Knights.
Yeah, typically when an offense underperforms, you can look to drop passes, you can look to sacks, you can look to penalties or turnovers. But for this offense, because they don't do any of those things, it's largely just not able to get any chunk yardage in the run game.
Tonight's game is brought to you by Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission. I'm not sure what Big Red's mission was on that promo. Probably just to mess with a fan. He does that pretty well. Entertaining the crowd in between the action while the Hilltoppers entertain the crowd during the action. It's 10-0 Western Kentucky. A good start so far, in particular for this defensive unit that has stymied Army so far today. Here's Kelvin Hopkins on the pitch to Artis Hobbs, and he is drilled at the 30-yard line by Clay Davis.
Again, pursuit over and over and over again. This Western Kentucky defense is swarming sideline to sideline. They are fired up. And it's got to be so tough for the Army offense because the playbook's so limited. You don't go, well, the run game's not working. Now what do we do? You have to continue to do it and hope to out-execute them. But with this type of effort on defense, I think their third downs over the course of the night I think are going to continue to get longer and longer.
McCoy is the fullback. That was Hobbs in motion. And on the fullback dive, McCoy is stonewalled. Jalen George, with some help from Jalen Madden, leading the charge.
And this is what you get when you prepare the way that this defense is prepared. Look, they started this in spring ball in April or May. Lining up, looking at it, and now they get to reap the rewards of all that work that they put in for months and months. And you get the big uglies on defense when they get to celebrate in the backfield and chest bump each other. That's as good as it gets.
This is an Army offense that averages 30 points per game. None so far tonight. Bush on the return. That's going to be a crackback block that will negate this return by Bush. That's one of the new rule changes to college football this year. The illegal blindside block.
Well, that was definitely a blindside. That was a little guy hitting a big guy too, and he knocked his feet over his head. And I think it's a good rule. I think it's a good call. It's so dangerous. And it's not necessarily needed either. You can block the guy without doing what's done right there.
He was not going to be a factor in that return at the time he was blocked.
Yeah. Those are not bang bang. Those are a little bit more selfish in my opinion.
Chris Bynum is our referee tonight.
During the return, personal foul, blindside block, number 12. The film be enforced from the spot of the foul, half the distance. First down.
A learning moment for redshirt freshman A.J. Brathwaite, number 12. He comes flying in, and that wipes out the return by Western Kentucky. All right, pay close attention to our play of the game. This is as excited as you'll ever hear a quarterback get when he talks about a punt. Jordan, take it away.
Absolute play of the game. We're announcing it early because I'm convinced there won't be anything done tonight as spectacular as landing the ball on the 2-yard line and reeling it in, put a little dookie on it, little mustard, spinning it back, rolls along parallel to the goal line. Unbelievable. Scott Van Pelt, Sports Center, where are you at? Play of the night.
I'm sure Zach Potter would echo that thought. Western Kentucky has dominated time of possession tonight, and there goes Gage Walker. Roped down at the 25-yard line by Cedric Cunningham.
Shifty. Great job of running between the tackles. Seen it all night. He runs behind his pads, but he's shifty enough to be able to put his foot in the ground and move laterally, and just a great job. Vision down the field. Great ball security. And I think this Hilltopper offense, if they can continue to get these types of runs between the tackles by Gage Walker, I wouldn't do a whole lot more than that. Play action off of it, can still stretch the field, and sprint outs and screens.
There's Jahcour Pearson, who is run down from behind by Cole Christensen, who is called sometimes by the other team Captain America for all the plays he makes against other teams' offenses.
Yeah, he's everywhere.
Pearson shaken up after that tackle. That's the most appropriate name you can give the Army middle linebacker, I would think. Captain America. I mean, Steve Rogers was in the Army, for heaven's sake.
That's what you want.
Yeah.
Well, he's leading the team in tackles. His 49 tackles so far this season. That's 24th in the country. His 31 solo tackles. That's 16th in the country. So he's ranking nationally in very, very relevant categories, tackles and solos.
Right on the shoulder.
Well, Christensen at 235 on top of Pearson. That's just a lot of pressure on a smaller guy. But yeah, Captain America, that's not just what you want to call your linebacker. I'm just an American up here going, that's the type of person I want protecting the country too.
Yeah, great point. Great point. He's a senior. He'll be getting his post assignment coming up in the spring. The start of his 5-year armed services commitment. Pass to the sideline is hauled in. That was Quinn Jernigan. And a third down coming up for Western Kentucky after a gain of around 4.
You know, something we haven't talked about yet tonight is just the commitment that these Army football players have just on a daily basis.
Yeah.
In terms of the school workload. West Point, one of the best universities to get an education from in the world.
Story hit. He spins free out of Riley's grasp, and Riley catches back up to him at the 25.
Ty Storey with the Houdini in the backfield here. Keeping his eyes downfield. He's wrapped up. He spins out of it. 2 hands on the ball. So much about playing quarterback in today's game is creating time and space. And sometimes it's a spectacular effort getting outside the pocket and breaking tackles, and sometimes it's just subtle movements in the pocket. Ty Storey's done it a bunch of different ways tonight, but to no avail on that play. But great job avoiding a sack, and nothing open for him down the field. But don't make a bad play worse, something so many coaches tell their quarterbacks.
Haggerty on the punt. He's from West Sydney, Australia, by the way, and Riley rolls to make the catch. Next Friday, Stadium travels coast to coast to bring you outstanding high school football. First from Pennsylvania, Keystone Oaks hosts reigning 3A champions Aliquippa. Tune in at 7 Eastern on Stadium and watch stadium.com. And then at 10:30 from the Golden State, it's Edison and San Joaquin Memorial. See the top recruits from across the country each week on Stadium and watch stadium.com. Jordan, I know that you played football at every level, and there's still always something about the high school game, right?
Yeah, so fun. I work with a lot of high school quarterbacks, and the game has changed. High school game has changed. We're at a college football game right now doing promos for high school games on TV next weekend. The game's really changed. Yeah, but with social media, it's impacted recruiting. Kids in high school now, they don't just rely on a letter from a coach or watching a game on TV to form an opinion about what a college is like. If you're a Southern California kid and you get a letter, you know, back in the day, you get a letter from somebody at Tennessee, and then you only get 5 trips, take one of your trips. Nowadays, social media and with the visibility of games, these kids get a chance to really form opinions about what all the different colleges are like, and just made a huge impact on recruiting.
Sandon McCoy on the carry, and to the point of recruiting, Army has got some very specific, pointed prerequisites, boxes that you have to check if you want to come to West Point to play football. Of course, you got to be good on the field. You also have to be excellent in the classroom. You have to be a strong leader and a winner, Jordan, something I know that you latched onto. And of course, and this is really the 5th and most difficult requirement, you have to be willing to commit to 5 years of service. On third down, Hopkins dumps it to Hobbs, who makes the catch and is ridden down by Devin Key.
And this is what that Army offense wants to do. When they do throw it, completion percentage low, they're fine with that, because when they do complete it, they're averaging over 20 yards a play.
31 yards, by far Army's longest play of the night. And their
Yards per completion, 21.47. They lead the nation in some very weird categories. That being one of them, yards per completion.
Third down conversions, rushing yards per game. And it's things like that that this triple option or spread option attack really excels at. Keep in mind that Kel Walker, one of Army's top slot backs, is off the field right now. He was injured, so Malik Hancock, number 16, is at that left slot back position right now. He gets the pitch from Hopkins, and tell you what, Hancock, the senior from Apopka, Florida, has got a little bit of a burst. That's just his 4th run of the season.
There's just something so awesome about a guy with goggles underneath his helmet. I grew up loving Horace Grant, but it's even better with a helmet.
Chester Marcole, the kicker, as McCoy tumbles ahead to the 15, and Army continues what's by far been its best drive of the night.
Yeah, and just like that, one explosive pass play. That's all it's taking. Just one 31-yard gain on a 3rd and short, and all of a sudden, boom, momentum has shifted.
The train is on track, and how about the bruising blow delivered by Kelvin Hopkins? He's just 5'10", 205, and he dished out some punishment there on a run to the 10-yard line, a pickup of 5. End of the 3rd quarter, Western Kentucky by 10, but it feels like Army has the momentum.
Yeah, and for this Army offense, all it takes is one play. They so often tonight, they're running the option, but right as Kelvin puts his foot in the ground, defenders right here, storming pursuit as they continue to try and force that option pitch. But when Kelvin puts his foot in the ground and kicks back, as soon as he gets right by that defender, Hopkins does a great job pushing the ball down the field, and all they need is one play like that. One 31-yard pass completion down the field. It's back-breaking, and the momentum in this stadium has shifted towards Army.
It brought Army's offense to life, that's for sure, and on the plunge, Army picks up a 1st down just inside the 5-yard line. Sandon McCoy on the carry.
And I think they are officially in 4-down territory. That's safe to say.
Well, that's always the case if you're Army, you would think, as Hopkins gets punished on the quarterback keeper at about the 4, 2nd and goal.
Yeah, and there's just not much opportunity for real trickeration or spreading the field. It's just more of the same. Pound, make Western Kentucky play disciplined football.
Army is excellent in the red zone, as you can see, 17 for 20 on touchdowns, but they're running out of downs right now as Western Kentucky's defense has stiffened, and there is D'Angelo Malone with a big-time stop in the backfield.
And the same thing that hurt him on the big pass play helped him here. Too many defenders in the face of Hopkins. He goes to pitch it. They have a defender on the pitch man. They have a defender in the face of the quarterback, and when you can get an option-based offense in that position, there's nowhere to go but to tuck it and take your losses.
McCoy, the fullback. Hopkins to the air. Way out of bounds. And it brings up 4th down.
Well, 3rd and 7 is difficult, even with the end zone and the amount of space they have right there. They're so limited with their pass options. So 4th and 7, even different, even more difficult. 10-point game. Apparently, the analytics say take the attempt at 3 points.
Going by the book. Now this is David Cooper, a senior from Alexandria, Virginia. He had kicked just 1 point after attempt in his college career before this season, and he missed on an attempt that would have gotten Army on the board. Still a 2-score game in the fourth quarter. Called his name a ton tonight because he is primarily an edge rusher, but D'Angelo Malone has had a breakout season on the hill for Western Kentucky this year, and he came up huge on the last drive, Jordan.
Yeah, he's right here. And we talked about Coach Clayton White making sure everyone has their eyes in the right spot. Somebody's responsible for the back. D'Angelo Malone responsible for the quarterback. Doesn't allow Hopkins to cut back. Pushes them. That was a big 2nd and goal because that pushed them back, forced a longer 3rd and goal, ultimately didn't get that, missed the field goal. It's those little tiny plays on defense that add up. And
he's got a tackle for a loss tonight. That is his NCAA leading 14th tackle for a loss this year.
7 tackles, leading the defense tonight in tackle. He's just everywhere. This guy showed up on campus under 200 pounds. He got himself up to 235, and they've just found ways to put him around the ball.
Gage Walker on the carry. Tackled from behind by Donovan Lynch, the defensive end for Army, who is seeing extended playing time here in the second half after Jeremiah Lowry was ejected because of a targeting penalty. And here comes 3rd and 2 for the Hilltoppers.
And this is where you rely on the experience of these 5 linemen for Western Kentucky. They've got 1 more quarter here to just continue to control the line of scrimmage. Got to be able to run the ball effectively here.
Ty Storey uses his 225-pound frame to pick up 5 yards and a Western Kentucky first down.
It's a perfect example of it right there. All we got to do as an offensive line in that situation, move them back a yard or 2 and give Ty Storey 1 crease to be able to just get a couple of yards. And now is when we start to see Western Kentucky's offense play the same game that Army's offense plays, which is let's chew up the clock, let's possess the football, execute up front, and just continue to make chunk plays.
Here's a pitch to Jaquez Sloan. He slips through and is tripped up around the 40-yard line. Tackle made by Malcolm Morrison, the sophomore from Stamford, Connecticut.
The most effective way to do what I just said, which is control the clock, continue to move the chains, is to have positive plays on first down. Getting to 2nd and 3 is a best case scenario. In some cases, better than a first down because you're just continuing to chew up the clock, not letting them, not necessarily moving the chains every single play. Getting to 2nd and short.
2nd and 3 here with Jackson, the motion man. On the give, Walker makes the first man miss and picks up a Western Kentucky first down to the 45.
Gage Walker's approaching 100 yards here if he's not over yet.
He had 90 yards rushing on the last drive for Western Kentucky, so he's over the century mark for the 4th time this season. That is the most in Conference USA. Army brings 4. Storey throws on the run to Jackson, who only picks up 3 before he's thrown out of bounds by Morrison.
Just continuing to make positive plays. Curious to see if Ty Storey has a play he wants called, because he just sprinted over to head coach Tyson Helton to tell him something. As a quarterback, usually that's because you see something you like.
Tyson Helton is still calling the plays, in particular on 1st and 2nd down, but he does collaborate with Brian Ellis, his offensive coordinator. The two have a very close relationship. Ellis played for Helton when Ellis was a football player at UAB. And on the run to the 50-yard line, Western Kentucky, again, it's very interesting to see how they are taking on the attributes of Army's offense here.
Yeah, and here's Coach Brian Ellis. He's done a fantastic job. He's a younger guy. He's done a great job, though, of developing quarterbacks, getting the most out of them. Get the most out of the best, and the best out of the least is usually the job of a quarterback developer.
Jackson on the reception. Riley wrestles him to the turf with help from Donovan Lynch. And Western Kentucky picks up another first down. Again, getting yards on this drive in chunks of 4 or 5, it feels like.
Yeah, that's well designed. That's coaching and execution by the players. And speaking of developing quarterbacks, man, I've been impressed with Ty Storey. I've seen him. I highlighted earlier on the miss, and we went back to it. And anybody who's a Ty Storey fan watching this, don't hate me for that, but I'll love him now because we've seen him make every type of throw. He's driving into the perimeter. He's been really accurate over the ball. Hit a big, deep crossing route earlier in the game, and he's been effective with the screen game.
On the boots. He spins away from Lynch and is covered up at the 39-yard line. I think you're spot on, partner. He's done a great job following the game plan for Western Kentucky tonight. They've got over 300 yards of total offense, only 10 points. But you get the sense that a score here, especially a touchdown, could really ice this game.
Yeah, and that exact play right there is just that's what you want out of a senior. He very easily could have thrown the ball out of bounds or ran out of bounds with a guy pursuing him from the inside, both of which stop the clock. Instead, he spins, falls forward for second and medium. That's just a good veteran play. And those are the types of plays, if they continue to have that, this run here, another 4-yard gain, getting to 3rd and short, this is how you chew up clock late in the game. They're not quite in 4-minute offense yet because they're still throwing the ball. But this is how you win these games at the end, in the 4th quarter. Protect leads, don't turn it over. It's not just the play calling, it's execution. And I think we've seen a lot of growth in the last 2 weeks and now the 3rd week for Ty Storey. And what a cool story it is. You know, he lost the job, transfers here from Arkansas. He's started 9 games at Arkansas. He comes here, he loses the job to Stephen Duncan. Duncan gets hurt, and here he is knocking on the door of a 3-0 start to his career as a starter.
On the run, Storey across the 50-yard mark. 4 yards gained on the ground tonight, and he picks up a Western Kentucky first down to the 28.
Yeah, and I'm not going to be surprised if Ty Storey runs the ball on every single 3rd and short coming up, because Army does not have an answer for it. When you do that, it's not a quarterback draw. Okay, they're not showing a pass play and then asking the quarterback to run a draw. What they're doing is they're widening Gage Walker out. You have to put a defender on him. And then there's one player who's not accounted for, and that's the quarterback. You get an additional runner. That's what the Wildcat offense is designed to do, and that's what they're doing in 3rd and short. You've seen the Carolina Panthers for years do that with Cam Newton when they get in the red zone. And what we're seeing right now out of Ty Storey and really Tyson Helton and Brian Ellis, the play callers, is just take advantage and running efficient, effective play calling. And up front, these guys are executing it. This may not be really exciting football to a lot of people, but a football nerd like me, I love watching smart football people make well-executed plays. So this is good football as far as I'm concerned.
And a clinic in that regard. Pressure up the middle. Storey dumps it on a shallow cross to Jaquez Sloan, who does a tightrope act and is stepped out at the 19-yard line.
Yeah, conservative passes, nothing really too contested. It's a shallow cross, little 5-yard crossing route. Good ball placement by Ty Storey. And if you're this Army defense, somebody's got to make a play. They had the 31-yard pass play on offense that really changed the momentum and brought some energy. But this defense, somebody's got to step up. Whether they pull it out in the run game or they get a hand and tip it up in the air, they got to make a play.
Tonight's game is brought to you by Persil. Tackle tough game day stains with Persil Pro Clean Laundry Detergent, a premium clean for your premium gear. A couple of grass stains added to the gear on the berm tonight. A cool atmosphere here in Bowling Green. The temperature really took a dive, but still a very pleasant fall day today. And on the hill, they are loving the show. 10-0 Western Kentucky with a very difficult non-conference matchup against Army tonight. And they're 5:42 away from a win. They've dominated in total yards and time of possession. And Ty Storey has really been the key piece. The Western Kentucky quarterback runs for another first down.
He's got the QB sneak for a touchdown. 3rd and 1 there, and then a couple 3rd and longs. Then on 3rd and medium, they're calling the quarterback counter run plays, and no pun intended, he has been the story.
It's been a long time since Army was shut out. You have to go all the way back to 2014, which was Jeff Monken's first season. And at this point, and at this rate, Western Kentucky might not give Army the ball back as Gage Walker sprints to the 9-yard line. Tackle made by Jalen McClinton.
And it looks like these big boys up front are just wearing on this Army defense, who have really not been able to get that penetration. As we look here, these 3rd down conversions just continuing. Ty Storey continuing to be the guy who's able to move the chains, whether it's 3rd and short or 3rd and long.
2nd and short now. Sloan jogs behind the line. On the hand clap, the give to Walker inside the 5, pushing towards the goal line. He is ruled short inside the 1.
Gage Walker, just an absolute football player. Again, playing behind his pads. He loves contact. He's not just a speedster. I love the running backs who obviously are big play, home run threats, right? They can get outside and they're off to the races. But when you have those types of runners who also love to run the ball up the middle and get physical, it's fun to watch. So we see Ty Storey here with another QB sneak. Why not?
His 2nd touchdown of the game.
And why would you call anything else? If they haven't stopped it yet, what would make you think they're going to? Ty Storey getting behind his pads, fighting for a few extra yards, and what a cool night for him coming back home.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Western Kentucky is stuck with its game plan tonight. Corey Munson for the point after attempt. And it's 17-0. 4:02 left. Western Kentucky dominating Army under the lights. Our player of the game tonight, you might say our story of the game tonight, Ty Storey, who's on the verge of going 3-0 for Western Kentucky.
Yeah, huge job coming off the bench. He did it every way. I mean, he missed one early, and then he didn't really miss one after that. He's been super effective with his feet, not just on the design quarterback runs, not just on QB sneaks, but on a couple of different really long 3rd and longs where he was able to get himself in position and get a first down. And then he's been effective in the passing game. He's been really accurate in front of him between the hashes, with the stunt routes, with shallow crosses. We've seen him drive the ball to the perimeter on some comebacks and curls. I've loved it, and he's been accurate in the screen game. We saw him throw a screen in the dirt because it wasn't there. Sometimes guys force those, and those turn into turnovers. We just haven't seen him do anything to jeopardize the game for Western Kentucky. And when you're a senior and you're as experienced as you are, that's what you'd expect from the coaching staff, and that's what they've got tonight from Ty Storey.
We're offering a full morning of sports programming on all of our stadium platforms. The Territory gets things rolling at 9 Eastern, followed by Emerge, Campus Insiders, and Sauce and Shrimp. Also, the Fantasy Sportsbook comes your way at 6 o'clock Eastern. Stadium, welcome to the game. Kelvin Hopkins Jr. and the Army Cadets have their hands full right now. This methodical offense now needs to hurry, down 17-0 with 4:02 to play. Western Kentucky has not shut out an opponent since 2011 when they blanked FAU 20-0. Hopkins sails that one long. Western Kentucky I think, a trademark of a lot of good defenses, Jordan. They get stronger as the game goes on.
Yeah, and they're shutting guys out in the second half and in the fourth quarter. And we heard Tyson Helton this week talk about get to the last 5 minutes of the game. Now, in this case, up 17, they're not going to disregard the last 5 minutes, but they're securing a victory. But it's so much about how do you finish the games. Most games are won in the last 5 minutes.
Look at this. Army out of the shotgun now. And that pass is hauled in by Camden Harrison, who had a monster game last week against Tulane, as he became the first Army cadet to catch over 100 yards in a game since 2015. Hurry up offense for Army. Hopkins delivers a pass incomplete in the direction of Artis Hobbs. Coverage applied that time by Devin Key.
Yeah, not just hurry up. They're in shotgun, which is not a familiar place for Hopkins to be. And every time on this series that he's dropped back, he's gotten absolutely smoked by somebody. And so not just is it different for him, it's different for these pass sets. You know, these offensive linemen are not used to kicking back and pass setting, and so they can get out of position really quickly. And this defensive line for Western Kentucky licking their chops, and they're going to get a couple more free shots on Hopkins if they keep throwing it.
That's Harrison again across the 45 to the 47-yard line. He's slung down by Deontay Ruffin. Army right back to the line of scrimmage. They do have all three of their timeouts. Double slot wide for Army right now. This is a very unorthodox Army look, as Hopkins again missed Dominic DeStefano, the junior from Pflugerville, Texas. And there is a flag on the play in the offensive backfield.
Hopkins just keeps taking shots as this Western Kentucky defense, really, I mean, what you can do.
Foul, defense, number 36, roughing the passer, 15-yard penalty, automatic, first down.
That's Kyle Bailey.
Yeah, I said they were licking their chops. They should tone it back a little bit. That's just a little bit late, but another big shot for Hopkins. And you know, with these offensive linemen, they're a little undersized. It's definitely a smaller line, but when they're used to going forward every single time the quarterback says that, now they need to kick backwards. It's just an unorthodox thing for them. It gives the advantage to the defensive line.
Hopkins tucks and runs, lowers the shoulder right into Devin Key and keeps on pushing. Hopkins is one tough dude, and he nearly picks up an Army first down, a gain of about 9.5 inside the 30. I wanted to go back to something that you just said, the size of Army's offensive line. Their tackles are smaller than their guards, which is usually the opposite on most offensive lines, and it's because this is such a run-oriented team. I mean, you want tackles that can get off the ball, and they're not accustomed to pass protecting, but they're doing a good job of it here, as that is another pass completion out to Michael Roberts, just his second catch of the year.
Well, they want the tackles to be able to run block. They also have a difficult time recruiting, and the workload on these guys.
Nearly a spectacular catch made that time by Brandon Walters. It's incomplete.
And the workload on these guys on a weekly basis between academics. Again, West Point's not a good school. West Point's not a really good school. West Point is one of the most prestigious universities in the entire world, and also one of the most difficult universities to get into. So when you talk about recruiting, you're just not going to get the 6'7", 350-pound guy, because they also have to pass so many of the physical tests. And there's such a demand on school, and there's such a demand. These guys, they're sleeping on average 5.1 hours a week. When we talked to Coach Monk, we talked to Coach Monken earlier this week. He talked about they have a sleep analyst that measures everything, and these guys, between school and all of the extra stuff that's asked of them on a weekly basis, so it's hard to gain that much weight. And, you know, it's hard to go through and just be a student athlete at this school and be 320 pounds. So yeah, you're talking about a 265 left tackle, a 290-pound right tackle, left guard's 305, right guard's 290, center's 300 pounds. Those are the biggest guys on the team. And then when they graduate, they've got to pass a last physical, and one of the elements is gymnastics, and these guys all have to then lose the weight at the end. So difficult for this Army football team to be able to compete, and that's why it's so impressive that they've been on the run that they've been on the last few years. And even the way that this game is ending, you know, to win 10 games the last 2 years, to take Michigan to double overtime a few weeks ago, that's why it's so impressive, because it's execution, it's work ethic, it's great coaching, it's great discipline, and it's all the things that used to make football awesome, and part of why it's such a storied program.
Over the head of Cam Harrison, the junior from Allen, Texas, just north of Dallas.
The other thing is, when you look at this roster, there are players from the entire United States.
Coast to coast.
They don't recruit, you know, Dallas and Florida and California and call it a day. These guys, there is somebody from every single spot in the country. And
you were on a flight here to Western Kentucky with an Army family from Southern California.
I was, yeah. Their son played offensive line at Mater Dei High School, one of the best high school programs in the country. And again, there's guys on this roster from everywhere. It's really cool.
Second and goal, end zone, open man. And a touchdown, Army.
This is a great throw by Hopkins.
Malik Hancock gets the Cadets on the board and spoils the shutout bid for Western Kentucky in the final 2 minutes.
Yeah, and the one thing you can expect from Army is that they're going to fight and they're going to play until the whistle blows. And that drive was a testament. You know, they're in a position that they're not used to being in. They're in shotgun. They're dropping back. They're driving the ball down the field, and something they probably don't even practice a ton outside of 2-minute offense in this special situation. And so to be effective and go down, they got the help of a roughing the passer penalty. But then other than that, they were Hopkins hanging in there, taking shots, and they get right back to it, line it up, and going for 2.
Hancock on the toss. He gets all 8 points on that drive for Army.
Yeah, let's take a peek at this touchdown throw. So Hopkins, I know he's celebrated as a runner and as a leader, but I like the way the ball comes out of his hands. Gets his feet set, corner route, spinning it, driving it, ball's right on his throat. It's a simple smash concept. Receiver on the outside is just going to attract the attention of the corner. Inside receiver running into the back pylon, and then in this 2-point conversion, more of the same. Don't overcomplicate it. Simple toss play, and everybody getting a hat on the right shoulder, and going ahead and putting 8 points on the board. Like you said, I mean, Western Kentucky's played so well tonight on defense. For them, you're bummed they don't get the shutout. For Army, it's good to see them drive 80 yards by dropping back and throwing it and showing that they have that element of their game, and go down there and execute a drive.
11 plays, 75 yards, and 2:21, an atypical Army drive in terms of time of possession. Feels like everything for Army has been atypical tonight. But where was that earlier in the game? If you're Jeff Monken, that's what you're asking yourself and your coaching staff right now.
Well, I think it was on the back bottom right corner of the playbook. I think that was in the
index.
Yeah, the emergency break glass in case of emergency, and then you pull that playbook out of there, and that's not what they want to build their foundation on. But it's a testament to the execution and the coaching here for them to go, hey, look, this is something we don't do a whole lot, but let's go ahead and let's not let that be an excuse. Went down the field and executed. And they're going to be lined up here for an onside, and Western Kentucky calls the timeout. They want to make sure that they've got somebody responsible for blocking each of these guys. So much about these onside kicks on TV, it just looks like, well, we're going to run a bunch of guys down there and knock their heads off, and then we're going to try and jump on the ball. But there's actually a lot of strategy to it. It takes making sure that the kicking team is getting a hat on each person. Somebody's designated, a couple more than one guy's designated for going after the ball, and then it takes great execution by the kicker too. You can't just knock it into a certain area. This is something that ball is, whether he's going to pop it up off the first one or he's going to line drive it at somebody, there's some tactics behind it.
David Cooper with the onside attempt, and it is off a couple of Western Kentucky players, but ultimately recovered by Lucky Jackson on the hands team, along with Quinn Jernigan. It knocked off both of their hands, and Western Kentucky avoids the scare with 1:39 to go.
That's why they call it the hands team. That ball did not get up. You typically, when you hit that thing into the ground, you're hoping on the first or second time it hits the ground, it's going to pop up in the air, just so it gives your kicking team time to get down there. That one was more of a line drive. It just kept rolling, and once it gets 15 yards on the field, your guys can't get there in time, and good job by Western Kentucky's hand team recovering it.
Army does have all 3 of its timeouts, but they need to force a 3-and-out here from Western Kentucky. That's not a good start if you're the Cadets. Quinn Jernigan picks up 6 on first down to midfield. Beg your pardon, that was Gage Walker. As Army calls its first timeout, here's what's going on across the Conference USA landscape today. And again, 25th year anniversary of the conference. Marshall handling Old Dominion. UAB on top of UTSA. Southern Miss up by 8 over North Texas. La Tech puts a beat down on UMass. FIU over Charlotte. Florida Atlantic over Middle Tennessee. And Southern Miss has added another score and is up by 2 possessions now on North Texas. You played in this conference. How do you think it's evolved over the last, not just 25 years, but specifically the last 10 or 15?
Well, it's really changed with getting some coaches in there like Lane Kiffin and Butch Davis. But the thing that remains the same is it's always completely up for grabs. It's not a top-heavy conference. There's no 2 or 3 teams that are just always going to dominate it. It's up for grabs any year. It makes it really fun. A lot of offense, a lot of passing yards, a lot of opportunity, fun to play offense in that conference. But really, it's up for grabs, and it's an exciting conference championship every year because you start off the season, there's 4, 5, 6, 7 teams that have a legitimate chance of winning it.
3rd and 3 coming up here. 3rd in the ball game, basically, is whatever flicker of hope Army still has at a comeback rests on getting the ball back. And they only have 1 more opportunity to stop the clock. Army certainly hasn't backed down. Jordan has talked about that a couple of times. Jeff Monken and his team has a lot of character. Now, they certainly aren't going to hang their hats on that. They want and expect, now that the standard has been set, to contend for top 25 rankings, to contend for New Year's 6 bowl appearances. One of the goals of this senior class, Jeff Monken was telling us, was to get a bowl game against a Power 5 opponent this year, something that could still be on the table, but a chance for the winningest senior class in Army Cadet program history to send a final message to the college football landscape. Story falls forward, and it looks like he is ruled about a half-yard shy of the 46, which is where Western Kentucky needed to get. It is 4th down. What do you think? Do you go for it here if you're Western Kentucky?
I don't think so. I think in this situation, well, it's so short. Your QB sneaks have been effective. I think you're either running a QB sneak, or you're looking at this and going, we're going to ask the Army offense to make the Army offense do what they don't normally do again, and it's still a 2-score game. It's one of those decisions. I think it's one of those decisions you ask Kim.
Yes.
I think Tyson goes over to Dad and says, Dad, you've been in this situation 375 times. What do we do here? No, but you've got 2 options. You either QB sneak this, or you can punt this and play the field position game and try and make them go 90-plus yards. But I don't know. I'm running a QB sneak, and I want to win the game. I want to end this game with my offense on the field in victory formation.
What would go through your head when the play call came in for a quarterback sneak?
With QB sneaks, it's so much just about finding the crease and leaning. It's not really a play you ever really get hit really hard on, because everyone's coming from a yard away. But
well, here we go.
Exactly what they're going to do.
Yeah, you're right.
You got it.
He just nudged forward to the 45, and Army is now powerless in its bid to stop the clock, and Western Kentucky can ice this game.
Yeah, and this Hilltopper sideline they're juiced. This is a big win. This is a totally losable game for them. I mean, they weren't even favored.
Yeah, that's right.
This game, this would have been very easy for Army to come in here, do what they wanted to do, run the ball, big plays in the running game. And this Hilltopper defense just absolutely was stymieing them all night, pursuing, aggressive, great effort across the board in the secondary, up front. They made plays in the backfield. This was not just the D'Angelo Malone show, which we've seen through 5 games. This was just a fantastic job by the Western Kentucky defense. Gage Walker made a ton of plays. Ty Storey, effective as a runner, accurate, great decision. At no point tonight did Ty Storey ever put the ball in a position to get intercepted. No terrible reads. I thought it was just a really, really good win across the board for this Hilltopper. If you're Tyson Helton, you've got to love what you see tonight. You've been preparing for this game, as we mentioned throughout the broadcast, since spring ball to get ready for this offense. And Tyson Helton and this coaching staff did a fantastic job getting ready. And Coach Monken has got a lot of things to fix, but man, he has a lot of resources to do it. I'm excited to see what both these programs are able to do come out of tonight. Western Kentucky to roll and Army to fix these things and get back on track.
Western Kentucky celebrating with Big Red in the mix. 17-8 the final score. Western Kentucky is now 4-2 on the season and 3-0 with Ty Storey at the quarterback position. Jordan, I know you really liked his performance tonight.
He was just efficient. 21 of 30, nothing crazy through the air, 140 yards passing, but it was the 15 rushes for 58 yards. That's what it was. I mean, the 2 touchdowns is great. They were QB sneaks, but it was the 3rd down runs. Some of them were 3rd and long, and it was a pass play, and he made it happen. And some of them were designed 3rd down runs on 3rd and medium. He was effective on both of them. And Gage Walker, too, is another guy who he was all over the place.
Where does Army go from here?
You know, for Army, it's an important game for them because they came off a tough loss last week at Tulane, where we talked to the coaches this week. They didn't feel like they really played well in any phase of the game last week. And so this was their game to get back on track, to come in here and get a big road victory and run the ball well and make a few big chunk passing yard a game and kick the ball well. And they just weren't able to get it going on offense. And then on defensive side of the ball for Army, they weren't able to stop the quarterback being able to make plays with his legs.
Quality win for Western Kentucky. Here's what's coming up next. I tell you what, a lot of home games on this schedule for Western Kentucky. They get their arch rival Middle Tennessee at home to end the season. They do have the back-to-back against Arkansas and Southern Miss, but there's a bye week in between those 2 road games. So Western Kentucky team that is positioned pretty well for some success down the stretch.
This Western Kentucky team absolutely has a chance to win this conference. They're 3-0 in the conference. They got a big win here. They're going to have a chance to go to play a beatable Arkansas team. And they've got a bunch of home games. I'm excited for the opportunity of these guys.
We are out of time for tonight. It's been a pleasure for Jordan Palmer, my broadcast partner, Andy Bach, our producer, TJ McGinnis, our director. My name is Chris Fosters. Thanks for rocking out with us at Bowling Green. 17-8, Western Kentucky, the final score.